in a letter to the editor in the Sunday Times yesterday, a church elder from the Mormon church said that it was preordained in the Mormon book, the Book of Mormon, that an outsider from the West will come and take over America politically, and he welcomes the conflict. And I remember thinking the same thing what you just said is, well, isn't Romney a church elder? I didn't know that he was a bishop. He's a bishop?
Yes, an archbishop.
An archbishop.
Well, how high up is that?
It's really
That's below
up. It's
the Pope, if there's a Pope.
It's very close to the top, and he never complained about their policies on having
I guess it'd
blacks.
be a card.
He never really raised any objections to any of the crazy stuff in that religion. No one's ever really quizzed him on just how deeply... if you're an archbishop, you really have to be drinking the Kool-Aid, right? I mean, you have to believe the tenets. And if an archbishop in the Catholic Church would believe in the Immaculate Conception, he would believe in a lot of things that we know are insane.
Yeah.
And you have to ask this guy, do you believe in the war between the light and the dark people 600 years ago on this continent that the white people won, of which there's no trace of any kind? Do you wear their magic underpants, which is a term that I coined on Bill's show? Remember in 2000 when we did this thing? Because they were called the sacred undergarments. And we called them the magic underpants because they're such a stupid idea.
Well, I thought
and he wears them.
Yes.
So you have to ask him, what do you believe? Do you believe the 6 golden plates? Do you believe, I mean, do you believe in the religion? And I heard this too, David, that they believe there's a guy who is going to, representing the Mormon religion, come and lead America and change it to the tenets of Mormonism.
Well, I'm looking up...
I don't even know if that's true, but you'd have to ask. Nobody asks. It's all supposed to be off limits.
Bishop Mitt Romney, high priest of the Mormon Church.
Well, there you go, high priest. As soon as you're saying that, you're right next to Grand Kleagle, aren't you? I mean, you're just a step away from the Kleagle.
Well, I thought it was kind of. I didn't know that Marco Rubio once upon a time was a Mormon as well, and they asked him on Meet the Press this week. I guess was it Meet the Press? I don't know which.
Yeah, that
show
was hilarious. He said he left when he was 8.
Yes, but when I was 8,
He had a spiritual calling to Catholicism when he was 12.
Yes.
Really? He was a Mormon in Las Vegas at that age, and he had a calling to go back to Catholicism, a spiritual calling at 12 to go back to Catholicism.
And he can't remember when exactly his family came from Cuba. He claims to be a refugee from Castro. Rubio claims to be a refugee.
But that's not true, is it?
No. They got out of the country while Batista...
Wasn't it 2 years earlier or something like that?
Yes, so it means that they had some kind of in with the fascist regime of Batista. So Nuns on the Bus, that's kind of interesting. And I was talking to Sister Diane Donahue, and I was studying up for the conversation. I found out about Pope Leo and the theory of distributism. Will Ryan, do you know about this?
No, don't.
Anybody? We have.
When did Pope Leo exist?
He would have been around the turn of the 20th century, so like in the 1890s, and he had an encyclical that said, "We don't support, the Catholic Church doesn't support liberalism, socialism, or communism. What we are behind is the distribution of wealth and power, that no concentration of money or authority should be contained within an elite, an aristocracy, a government, or a ruling class, and that money and power should be spread out equally." And it was really at the height of the progressive movement in the United States. And I remember when I was reading this, I thought, okay, that works for me. That's good.
What about the church? Do you take a position on their money?
Well, nobody's perfect.
Yeah. Was he a pope for very long? Pope Leo was.
I don't know.
He was the pope for quite a long time, I think.
But that makes sense.
I don't remember.
And Tony Blair, I talked about this with the sister. Tony Blair converted to Catholicism, which made no sense to me, other than Sherry Blair is a Catholic, his wife. But after he left the office of the prime minister, he converted to Catholicism, because I don't think you can be prime minister of England. And, well, actually, Disraeli was a Jew.
The English, they got rid of the Catholic Church. So there's a Church of England. I think if you're the prime, aren't you the head of the... Who's the head of the Church of England?
The Queen. The King and the Queen.
So that would be tough.
It was just passed a year ago. Anyway, I didn't understand why Tony Blair converted to Catholicism, but distributism is called the third way. And that was the name of Tony Blair's political philosophy, the third way.
Different meaning in porn.
Yes. The third way is what Blair and Clinton introduced to politics as a way of saying, we'll take a little from Thatcher and a very, very, very little from the liberal wings of our party, and we'll have this third way. And that's what Pope Leo was preaching, a third way, which is distributism.
Well,
do we have people still listening?
Yeah. We are distributing on the internet.
What were you going to say, Kevin? I'm sorry.
A lot of smart people who I artistically, like T.S. Eliot, they did convert to Catholicism later in life, and I don't understand it. Really, I don't
understand what would be the allure as I get older of Catholicism that I hadn't seen when I was younger.
A rich intellectual tradition.
There's that, and I think it's all of the trappings and all of the rituals and everything else must be comforting as you're getting closer to the dirt pit. There's a lot of stuff that is fun to do. It's like having building model ships, or quitting drinking but then picking up espresso and getting really into all of the various. It replaces ritual, replaces comforting to do all the ritual. Like go to the church, we do the things. There's the Latin. It's a smart intellectual religion in as much as you can be, I guess. And
but the people we're thinking of,
comforting them. But I don't get these late life conversions.
Were they all British? You mentioned
no.
Eliot. I mentioned Chesterton.
Yeah.
Oh,
Graham Greene's
maybe that's
religion.
part of it. Yeah.
I don't pay that much attention. I don't like. Religion to me. I think it's something you should figure it out. I can see being scared back into it when you get to be a certain age, maybe. But I do think, like now, I can't read books that are about people with religious problems, like Graham Greene. When the character's whole thing is having a wrestling match with whether there is or is not a God, what are your faith and all that. I go, really, you're still thinking about that? I mean, I go, come on, I feel to throw it away. The
Mask of Demetrius.
It's like a problem I don't want to read about anymore.
What's the Mask of Demetrius?
Oh, it was one of his earlier ones. One of his earlier, funnier ones.
Hilarious.
It wasn't funny, but it didn't have this angst, this kind of.
Well, I think we should introduce religion. After talking to nuns on the bus, I am thoroughly convinced now we should introduce religion
into the political discourse.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Let's discuss the teachings of Christ. You want to call this a Christian nation? Let's go for it. Let's talk food stamps, universal health insurance, being kind
Stop
to
building
aliens.
all these prisons.
Well,
Get rid of capital punishment.
I think it's a good idea.
And render unto Caesar to which that is Caesar's. Pay taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
No, that's a good idea. People should be held accountable to their belief. They just say things. I believe my faith is strong, Well, my faith. You go, well, what is it? What is your faith? What exactly do you believe? Why we can't talk to you about it? You just get to say it like, I have a very strong faith.
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Do you believe in the underpants or not? I mean, we need to know what your faith is.
All that is important for you to know is that I'm like this with the Creator.